Hello and welcome back to the Toffee YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. Thank you for all your support on our first two Football Manager videos. Today we're going to be taking a look at how Jose Mourinho does as the Everton manager. Be sure to leave a comment below with all your suggestions for our future videos, and let's skip to January to see how he does. Welcome back to the start of January, and as you can see straight away, he's started much better than Bielsa and Arteta. Everton are in fourth by the January transfer window. First of all, we're going to take a look at the top scorers. We always do. Richarlison, he's been a feature throughout the teams. He's top scorer again. Schneiderlin and Bernard tied on assists there. Mourinho must be a fan of Morgan Schneiderlin. And the most played of the match is not Jordan Pickford once, it is Richarlison. We'll take a quick look at transfers. Again, no transfers in. I'm not sure if that's something to do with the game or Mourinho just believes in the squad, but loans out quickly. John Joe Kenny went to Blackburn on loan. Kieran Dowell went to Sheffield United on loan. Brendan Galloway on Coventry on loan. And as you can see, Oumar Niasse has gone to Ajax for 4.6 million. Maybe not expected, but could be a good deal for the future. I'm not sure what Ajax are going to do with Oumar Niasse. He has managed to score 5 goals in 8 appearances though, so who am I to say? Matty Folds went to Port Vale. Josh Bowler at Northampton and Tyus Brown on Brentford, all on loans. Let's take a quick look at the tactics Mourinho has used. He's been accused of being a defensive manager before. He's using the 4-1-4-1. Seamus Coleman at right back, Keane, Jagielka and Digne. So Leighton Baines has always been the backup left back. A quick look there. People are bidding for Phil Jagielka, Ajax, Feyenoord and Salzburg. Not too sure about that. McCarthy in the defensive midfield position, Andre Gomez and Schneiderlin at centre midfield with no Idrissa Gueye. He is injured on the reserve, so he must play usually. Bernard on the left, Richarlison being used on the right, which he definitely hasn't been used commonly this season, or maybe not at all, and Cech Tosun up front, who has 5 goals. Let's take a look at the schedule. Let's see how results have gone. Started the season poorly with a 3-2 loss to West Ham, but results picked up after that with a 2-1 win at Burnley, a 3-1 win at Bournemouth, and through in the Carabao Cup second round against Villa. In September, a win against Southampton, but then a draw against Huddersfield and a loss to Fulham and Arsenal, but managed to get a penalty win against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup third round, so they were through there. Into the month of October, it's a win against United, Mourinho's old side, lost against Brighton, but then another Mourinho old side, it's a win against Chelsea, so doing well against the top 6, but not so well against the rest of the table, which is definitely not like the Everton that we know. And then classic Everton out in the Carabao Cup fourth round to Brighton after beating Arsenal on penalties. Very disappointing. Into November now, quite a short month in terms of fixtures. A win against Leicester, a loss against Palace and a draw against Watford, so quite an average month. And then in December, this is where the results really picked up. It's a win against Spurs, another win against the top 6, but as we could expect, it's a 2-0 loss against Liverpool at Anfield. A win against City, a win against Wolves, a win against Newcastle, Cardiff, and a draw against West Ham. Only 3 goals conceded in that whole month, so maybe Mourinho's defensive tactics have paid off. Next up, we're going to skip to the end of the season to see if he's still in the job. Obviously, Bielsa got sacked in February, if you watched our last video, and see how we do in all competitions. As you can see, we have skipped to the end of the season now, and a disappointing second half of the season for the Blues as they dropped down into 6th position. It was a strong start to the first half of the season, getting up to 4th, I believe it was, but maybe a decline in performance has gone on, but still a decent performance finishing above Chelsea. Let's take a look at any potential transfers during January. Okay, Javi Garcia came in from Real Hispalis. He used to play for City, yeah, an interesting one, 32 years old. He came in defensive midfield, making 14 appearances. Maxwell Cornet came on loan from Olympique Lyonnais, getting 7 appearances and 2 goals. Just the loans that went out here. Anthony Evans went to Crawley, Gibson to Morgan, Broadhead to Doncaster, and Sambu to Grimsby on a free, so that wasn't a loan. Jagielka went to Brighton for 250k, and Charsley went to Southend for 77,000. The year started off badly against Burnley with a loss, a win against Fleetwood Town in the FA Cup, and then a loss against Bournemouth in the Premier League, but then 3 more wins, another one in the FA Cup, Notts County getting beat 5-0 there. Going into February, it started with a draw to Fulham, then a loss to Arsenal. We did beat QPR in the FA Cup 5th round, and then beat Brighton in the Premier League. Into March now, a draw against Chelsea and United, not a bad start of the month. A draw against Leicester, which may be slightly disappointing, and then a loss against Watford in the 6th round, so we're out of the FA Cup, and then a win against Palace and Watford in the league. Finally, in April and May, a draw against Liverpool at Goodison, a loss to Manchester City. We did beat Spurs, which has been a bit of a theme throughout the different managers, did beat Wolves, beat Cardiff, and then a final day loss to Newcastle. We're now going to skip over to the end of the next season to see if Mourinho's still in the job and to see if anything has changed. We are back at the end of the second full season. As you can see, Sarri has taken over, which means Mourinho has been sacked. He was sacked after a cup knockout to West Brom in the FA Cup. He had quite a decent start of the season, going unbeaten for 4 games, then losing to Southampton, and he was fine up until January, but then results began to turn. Everton weren't doing so well. December was a very tricky month for Jose, and then we were eventually knocked out of the FA Cup by West Brom, and that was enough for the board. We'll take a quick look at his transfers. He did bring in Richard Streebinger, I think that's how you pronounce that, from Rapid Vienna. Craig Dawson from West Brom for 13 million, definitely an interesting one. Willian Jose from Real San Sebastian, I think that's Real Sociedad, for 14.5 million there. D'Ambrosio from Inter for 8.75 million. Chris Mepham from Brentford, I think he went to Bournemouth in the January transfer window, and Baumgartlinger from Bayer Leverkusen. Several players left, look at the significant ones. Besic went to Krasnodar for 5.25 million. Morales to Rennes for 3 million, and Tarashaj to Palace for 3.4. Walcott in January. Oh yeah, that must have been in January, sorry. Went to Bristol City for 7 million, and Yao Virginia went to Derby for 205k. In the end, in this season, as you can see, we're knocked out in the 3rd round by Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, in the 4th round by West Brom in the FA Cup, and in the Europa League, knocked out in the 2nd knockout round by Valencia. Finishing 8th in the table, so not that bad, but he was sacked in the end, and that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to leave your suggestions for who we should do next, and goodbye.